Complete ang versamus or tasa describe layos tabisim like shawim a team salam dramausi manaman. The forest was silent, a silence sharp as glass. Jason, the newly transformed vampire, smelled danger in the air, stronger than the scent of wildflowers. Linda, the Native American woman with emerald green eyes, was in danger. Something moved in the shadows. Something large, ferocious. A creature with glowing red eyes. Werewolf, or something worse. Jason had to save her. But a scream echoed through the dark night. A scream that froze the blood in his veins. Who was attacking her? And would Jason reach her in time? Linda's scream echoed through the forest, a thin thread of terror cutting through the darkness. It was a sound that clung to the throat, a sound Jason would never forget. He felt a sharp pang in his chest, a mixture of fear and fury that propelled him forward, faster than he ever thought possible. His still raw but intense vampire senses amplified every sound, every scent, every vibration in the earth. Linda's scent, sweet and woody like pine, now mixed with the metallic tang of blood, strong and close. The creature attacking her was hidden, like a malevolent shadow moving between the trees, but Jason could sense its presence, a weight on his soul. It was large and powerful. Its footsteps were like silent thunder that made the earth tremble slightly beneath Jason's feet. He could smell the beast's breath, hot and fetid, close to Linda. Jason ran, his muscles tense, his legs powerful and agile despite his recent vampiric transformation. It was a race against time, a race against death. Every tree he passed, every branch he dodged felt like an eternity. Jason's heart, a heart that no longer beat with the same force as before, but still pulsed with life in its new form, hammered in his chest, echoing the terror he felt. Suddenly, he saw her. Linda lay on the ground, locked in a desperate struggle with the creature. Her dark hair was scattered, her once bright green eyes filled with terror. The creature was enormous, a black wolf as dark as night, its red eyes glowing like embers. Its teeth were like sharpened blades, ready to tear into Linda's flesh. Linda fought back with surprising strength, using her bare hands to try and deflect the wolf's attacks. With each lunge of the beast, she twisted, her movements agile and surprising. But the creature was too strong, too fast. Linda was weakening. The ancestral strength of her ancestors, the power the tribal elders always whispered about around the campfire, hadn't fully awakened yet. But now, in this moment of extreme danger, something was changing within her. A green light flickered in her eyes. A powerful energy began to flow through her veins. The aura of fear around her began to dissolve, replaced by a glow that lifted her, made her stronger. Jason finally arrived. He threw himself upon the wolf, his teeth bared, his heightened senses ready to attack. It was an unequal battle. The creature was much larger and stronger than he was, but Jason's fury, his love for Linda, fueled his strength. He snarled, launching himself at the beast with all his newfound rage. The fight was intense, a deadly dance between the newly created vampire and the ferocious wolf. Claws and teeth clashed in an explosion of violence. The forest around them seemed to vibrate with the force of the struggle. The air grew thick, heavy, impregnated with the scent of blood and fear. Linda, watching the fight, felt torn. The ancestral strength urged her to fight, to help him, but fear held her back. The struggle between Jason and the wolf seemed like an eternal battle, with both fighters clinging on with all their might, desperately fighting for a survival they seemed unable to achieve. The gasping breaths of both mingled with the sound of trees swaying in the wind. The wind seemed to whisper ancient secrets to her, secrets about her ancestral strength. The wolf howled, an agonizing sound that echoed through the forest. It was the call of other wolves, the summons for a massive attack. However, Jason was already wounded. His skin, once pale, was now marked by deep scratches. Blood flowed from his body, mixing with the damp earth of the forest. But the wolf was also wounded, its red eyes now welled with blood, its movements slowing, showing it wouldn't have the strength for a prolonged attack. But then suddenly, other howls echoed through the forest. 2, 3, 4, many howls. A whole pack of wolves was approaching. The danger was even greater now. Jason and Linda were surrounded. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. The bloody battle for their survival, for the survival of their love. The final howl of the wounded wolf echoed like a war cry, instantly silenced by the arrival of an entire pack. Dozens of red eyes gleamed in the darkness, surrounding Jason and Linda. The air grew even heavier, charged not only with the smell of blood, but with the imminent threat of death. Jason, despite his injuries, rose, shielding Linda with his body, his teeth bared in a display of fury and determination. His blood flowed, painting the earth scarlet, but in his eyes, a stubborn spark of hope remained. Linda, still reeling from the violence of the scene, felt a wave of heat wash over her body. The ancestral strength, once a whisper, now roared within her, like an underground river breaking the surface. An intense green light radiated from her, enveloping her in a magical shield. Her eyes blazed with power, and a feeling of supernatural strength overwhelmed her. The wolves, attracted by the scent of blood, hesitated for a moment, their eyes fixed on the green light emanating from Linda, a glow that intimidated them. The fight became a chaotic whirlwind of claws, teeth, and magic. Jason, using all his supernatural strength and agility, faced the wolves that attacked him with fury, while Linda, guided by her ancestral strength, used her still inexperienced but powerful abilities, creating diversions and pushing the beasts back with blasts of green energy. The air filled with the sound of ripping claws, furious howls, and the thud of clashing bodies. It was an epic battle, a fight for survival against insurmountable odds. With every scratch and every bite he suffered, Jason felt his energy draining. His recent transformation into a vampire made him stronger, faster, but his new powers were not yet fully mastered. The fight seemed endless, a cruel dance with death. With each move he made, hope dwindled, for the pack was too numerous. The strength of his love for Linda, which drove him to fight so hard, became a double-edged sword as his concern for his beloved grew. Linda, sensing Jason's weakness, concentrated all her energy. The green light emanating from her intensified, taking on an almost blinding brightness. A scream echoed through the forest, a scream unlike the others, a scream that carried the strength of generations, the scream of an ancestral warrior. The wolves recoiled, frightened by the power emanating from the young Native American woman. For a moment, silence returned, a thick, heavy silence. The air was still charged with tension, but a new hope had arisen. The battle wasn't over, the danger remained, but an unlikely alliance was forming, a union of supernatural forces that seemed destined to meet. Jason, exhausted, and Linda, breathless but powerful, looked at each other, their eyes meeting in a single, profound understanding. The fight would now be different, a fight side by side, with hearts united. They knew the danger hadn't passed, that the night still held many surprises. But together, they were ready to face them. Their love was now a force as powerful as Linda's ancestral magic or Jason's supernatural strength. Love and survival would be their strongest weapon. The fight for survival and love was far from over. The forest, a silent witness to the battle, still held many dark secrets and deadly challenges for the passionate couple. The forest was silent, a silence sharp as glass. Linda's scream still echoed in Jason's mind, a thin thread of terror propelling him forward. He could smell blood, strong and close, mixed with Linda's sweet, woody scent. The creature that attacked her was near. He felt its presence like a weight on his soul, large and powerful, its footsteps like silent thunder. It was a wolf, enormous and black, its red eyes glowing like infernal embers. Linda fought with surprising strength, but the wolf was too strong. Its teeth, sharp blades, tore through the air near her body, and its scratches left bloody marks. Jason felt a pang in his chest, a mixture of fear and fury that made him faster, stronger. He saw her, fallen to the ground, locked in a desperate struggle. Her green eyes, once bright, were now filled with terror, but a different glow emerged in them, a green light shining intensely. It was the ancestral strength of her ancestors, finally awakening. Jason arrived like a lightning bolt, throwing himself at the wolf, his teeth bared, his lean, agile body moving with supernatural speed. It was a ferocious battle, a deadly dance between claws and teeth, an explosion of violence and fury. The forest vibrated with the force of the fight. The air grew thick, heavy, charged with the smell of blood and fear. Linda, sensing the fight, felt the ancient strength urging her on, but fear held her captive. She watched Jason fight like a lion, his body twisting with the agility of a feline, his movements fast, precise, and furious. The wolf snarled, its teeth bared in a cruel grin, as it tried to bite Jason. The vampire, wounded but implacable, retaliated with ferocity. Suddenly, a howl echoed through the forest, a long, deep howl that froze the blood in Jason's veins. More howls followed, a chorus of death announcing the arrival of an entire pack. Jason was wounded, his blood flowing, but he couldn't afford to stop. Linda was in danger. The pack was approaching, their red eyes gleaming in the darkness. The green light in Linda's eyes shone ever more intensely. The ancestral strength within her, once a faint thread, now roared like an uncontrolled river. She rose, her movements fast and precise, her eyes flashing with ancient magic. The aura around her pulsed, and the wolves hesitated, their movements becoming slower and more hesitant. Linda's ancestral strength prevented them from approaching. The fight became a whirlwind of chaos and violence. Jason, wounded, fought like a fearless warrior, his fury and love for Linda giving him superhuman strength. Linda, using the magic of her ancestors, deflected attacks, created fields of green energy that repelled the wolves, her movements elegant and precise. The air grew thick, the smell of blood strong. The fight seemed endless. Jason, exhausted, felt his strength abandoning him, but the image of Linda, her eyes full of hope, gave him strength to fight a little longer. Linda's ancestral strength shone like a beacon in the darkness, but even then, victory wasn't guaranteed. More wolves arrived, surrounding them like a relentless army. Jason protected himself, his body wounded, but his love for Linda was his only strength. The battle continued, a desperate struggle for survival, a battle of love against fury and death. Linda, her eyes shining intensely, let out a scream that seemed to echo through the centuries, a scream that carried the strength of 1,000 ancestral warriors. The air trembled, and the wolves recoiled, frightened by the power emanating from the young Native American woman. A heavy silence fell upon the forest, a silence that broke the din of the battle, a silence that carried an enormous weight. The danger hadn't passed, but a new hope was kindled. Jason and Linda looked at each other, their eyes filled with love, hope, and determination. The battle wasn't over yet, but together they would face any challenge. Their love was stronger than the darkness, stronger than death. Their love was a powerful and unstoppable force. Their survival depended on the love they felt for each other. The forest fell silent, awaiting the next chapter of this saga of love and survival. The battle for survival and love continued. The forest fell silent, a silence so profound it almost hurt the ears. Jason, staggering, leaned against a tree, his body covered in wounds, blood flowing like dark rivers down his pale skin. Linda, breathless, but with an extraordinary glow in her green eyes, emanated an energy that made the leaves of the surrounding trees tremble slightly. They had survived for now. The pack had retreated, frightened by the ancestral strength that had exploded in Linda. But victory was still far from assured. The forest, on that dark night, seemed to hold more secrets than they could imagine. Suddenly, a gigantic shadow moved in the trees, larger and more sinister than any of the wolves. It was an imposing figure, dark and threatening, rising above the treetops, a sinister silhouette hovering in the sky like an imminent threat. Its eyes, two bright points of intense red, fixed on Jason and Linda. It was a creature that transcended human understanding, something much older, much more powerful than the wolf pack, an ancestral power, as old as the trees of the forest themselves, as old as the strength that flowed in Linda. A chill ran down Jason's spine, a deeper fear than any he had ever felt. This was not a wolf, not even a pack leader. This was something different, something much worse. Linda, sensing the oppressive presence, gripped Jason's hand tightly. Her green glow, once radiant, was now paler, as if the ancestral strength within her was shrinking before that colossal threat. They looked at each other, their faces marked by fear, but the love between them remained, a thread of hope in the immensity of terror. The creature, without making a sound, began to approach, its steps slow and deliberate, each movement resonating in the forest like distant thunder. The giant shadow grew, shrinking them as if they were ants. The atmosphere was so heavy, so charged with unfathomable evil, that even Linda's ancestral strength seemed unable to combat it. The cold air of the forest froze their souls, announcing that this was only a truce before an even more deadly battle. A battle against an enemy that transcended everything they knew, a force of darkness so ancient and powerful that it threatened not only their lives, but the future of the love that united them. The black creature raised a hand, revealing elongated claws as sharp as obsidian blades, claws that seemed made of shadows and darkness, and a deep, horrifying roar echoed through the forest, a roar that shook the earth and penetrated even the bravest hearts. Jason and Linda's fate hung on a thin thread, between life and death, between love and eternal darkness. The final battle was about to begin. Fear settled deeply in their hearts, a visceral fear that scratched at their souls. They clung to each other, seeking strength in the warmth of their love amidst that overwhelming darkness, amidst that darkness that heralded the arrival of a new and terrible fight. The silence that followed was more terrifying than any scream. The next episode would leave many mysteries in the air. Who was the creature? How would Jason and Linda escape this? Would they unite or separate? What new challenges would fate hold for them? What would happen to this new and powerful enemy? The answer to all this would be in the next episode.